Good morning, world. Welcome back to Channel 5. Today is a really interesting day because in this channel we will interview our Prime Minister Boris Johnson as well as Dr. Luisa from a pharmaceutical company in Spain and Dr. Regina from a local pharmaceutical company here in the UK. We will be talking about how Brexit affected the pharmaceutical sector. But first, let's explain what Brexit was. Brexit was the withdrawal of the United Kingdom from the European Union. And this withdrawal affected many sectors in a positive and a negative way. During this interview, we will listen to the response of Boris Johnson and his perspective, as well as two pharmaceutical employees. With a little backstory of the pharmaceutical sector, in 2016, the pharmaceutical market value in Europe was approximately 267 billion. More than 700,000 people are employed in the European pharmaceutical industry, of which 10% are in the UK. According to the International Trade Council, UK pharma exported to the European Union, countries were valued at around 15 billion in 2016. Pharmaceutical products were in the top 5 of products most imported and exported from the UK to the European Union and vice versa. Okay, so getting to the interview, I would like to call out Luisa, and my first question would be, what problems and repercussions have you been seeing in the industry due to the Brexit situation?
Good morning, Eduardo. Thanks for having me. So the effect of Brexit on the pharmaceutical industry has brought many complications. For example, innovation. The pharmaceutical industry is one of the UK's main motors for innovation, investing more in R&D than any other sectors in the UK. The life science sectors stimulates the creation of highly skilled jobs and the formation of partnerships and collaborations, which generates value for the UK. To sustain the status of global leadership in the sector, the funding of small and medium enterprises or initial public offering is essential. Nevertheless, it also depends greatly on the European Investment Bank and the European Investment Fund funding. These constitutes 25 to 40% of funds. If the European Investment Bank funding pipeline is broken, the UK will suffer and fewer startups will be created.
Perfect. And can you mention more examples?
Yes, without problem. Loss of global research and status. For example, although 19% of the world's most cited life science academic publications in 2012 were produced by the UK, 60% of the international co-author papers are from the European Union partners. Cross-border collaborations between European Union member states are becoming increasingly paramount in achieving the scale required to make breakthrough discoveries. Loss of the European Union membership presents a considerable obstacle in maintaining the UK at the forefront of global research. Regulations. Companies seeking to launch new products will have to apply separately for regulatory approval in the UK and in the European Union. This will introduce delays to the system and may be detrimental to drug launches in the UK, as companies may prioritize applying for regulatory approval in the considerably large European market. Regulations and medical devices. Medical devices are regulated by the EMA and the MHRA. The Medical Devices Directive similarly attempts to apply European Union-wide standards to medical devices. This means that at present, devices licensed in one European country can be sold throughout the European Union. This lowest common denominator system allows manufacturers to register their products in countries with lower standards. And lastly, the supply chains between both countries are overwhelmed, and the EMA report warns the most of the medicines may have supply problems with the European Union once Brexit is consumed, as laboratories presumably will not make the necessary legal changes in time to maintain authorization or commercialization to produce much more.
Okay, thank you very much. So, Dr. Regina, how do you feel when Brexit was announced?
Since the announcement of Brexit, we started to worry about certain central parts of our industry because since we could no longer be part of the European Union, the regulations no longer apply. We did rely on the EU in many aspects, and we were concerned of the additional cost and the health of our patients, but we had to adapt and innovate.
And could you be more specific about the first concerns?
Yes, to start, there was a marketing of the pharmaceutical products. Since the marketing was authorized by the European Union, it would no longer be valid, and we didn't know what would happen. The same thing happened with the recognition and authorization of our medicines, like Luisa mentioned. Also, the EMI is based in London, and we didn't know if this office would leave.
Okay, so now that the Brexit has happened, what are some of the positive and negative impacts you have noticed?
The pharmaceutical industry is the third largest in the UK, and it contributes to 13.8 billion pounds of the economy yearly. You see, the UK exports 45 million packs of medicine to the EU each month, and it imports 37 million according to ABPI. We had to prepare for Brexit. We did try to modify our supply chain, and the government has made treaties with other countries so that we can still sell our products. And we did have an investment in this industry. Regarding COVID, the fact that we approved vaccines earlier than the EU, it made us one of the first countries to have almost 70% of our population fully vaccinated. We did lose access to the European Research Council, which means that fewer options of medicine for the patients, and a big loss for the UK pharmaceuticals. Also, the medicines exported or imported into the EU have been reevaluated, which resulted in big delays and trouble in border checks. The MHRA has laid out new regulations for the clinical trials in the UK, which with the investment it has made looks more attractive. This has impacted our economy, even though some of the countries, some companies such as AstraZeneca have stayed. Some left in order to be part of the EU zone.
Thank you very much, Dr. Regina. So, Mr. Boris Johnson, what about the negotiation between the UK and the European Union?
Hello, Eduardo. Thanks for having me here. So the main objective of the negotiation that the pharmaceutical industry made was that the United Kingdom and the European Union needed to create a mutual recognition agreement that puts the health of patients first and guarantees the supply and access to all drugs. On 24th of December of 2020, a few days before the Brexit deadline, the UK and the EU agreed to a 1,000-page between the EU and the UK trade cooperation agreement, which effectively eliminated tariffs and quotas on their goods. But in principle, it allowed the UK to erect its own non-tariff barriers, although the EU reserved the right to retaliate with its own measures if it's considered that the UK was threatening its competitiveness. The UK decided to draw up its own version of the EU chemicals legislation called REACH, which is Registration, Evaluation, and Restriction of Chemicals, which sets technical standards for chemical ingredients for medicines. The UK government officials have been working on a strategy aimed at boosting the competitiveness of its pharmaceutical sector by making the country a focal point for investing in drugs development within Europe. One means of boosting competitiveness has been ensuring that the country's regulation system and drugs evaluation procedures provide relatively rapid pathways to the market. This regulatory change is being implemented despite the handicap of no longer being part of the EU medicines licensing network within the European Medicines Agencies, the EMA, centralized system of the EU-wide authorizations at the decentralized procedure for national approvals. The UK tactic seems to be to exploit gaps and loopholes in the existing EU legislation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Boris. We can conclude this interview by saying that Brexit brought the United Kingdom some benefits, but also many concerns. One of the biggest concerns that the UK is facing is that they lost access to the European Research Council, and this will result in a fewer number of options of medicine for patients, as well as all the exports and imports in the European Union had to be reevaluated, and this will affect by having big delays. Brexit will also block and release and exports of products batches from the UK to the European Union countries. It mainly affects biological drugs such as vaccines.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.